Call to order, Town of Prescott Valley Study Session, November 9th, 2023. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Leyva.
Here.
Councilmember Greer.
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Here.
Councilmember Hepperly.
Here.
Council Schumacher.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hunt.
Here.
Mayor Polduta.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item is item 2A, PB Transit and Regional Direction Update. Mr. Rodriguez, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. Wanted to provide to you today with a one-year transit service update. We're very happy to complete this first ever transit program here in this region. So we have a lot of good things for you today and maybe a couple people to bring up here in a second. Next slide, please. But yeah, it's been fantastic working with our service providers. We have New Horizons, which has been doing a lot of work here for the region in terms of passenger transportation. Our software company, which has taken us from a certain service level to basically an increased one. Sorry, did you hear that? For next slide, please. But our partners have been, thank you. Our partners have been great. They've really taken us to that next level. So going back to the three goals that we have for our service, we are basically at 2.5 out of 3. As you can see, the bottom or the third goal here to implement a regional type service is not yet in play. But as far as the first two being providing access to essential services for people with disabilities, older adults, general public, we have completed that. Our second is providing a transit service to build on current resources that we have here locally, which is New Horizons. So these were the three main goals from the phased transit plan that you all accepted back in January of 2020. So next things that I wanted to provide to you all was just some details relative to our service. So as far as ridership goes, based upon that plan, the projected goal was 9,000 riders for the first year of service. We doubled that. We completed 18,046 by the end of September. So it's been pretty amazing feat that we've all been able to provide. And as you can see, our average weekday ridership, a goal of 44, you can see that it's doubled there. Wheelchair ride requests, we didn't necessarily have a goal. We wanted to see what the exact needs were for the town. And we saw that the first year we completed 687 wheelchair rides, which is pretty amazing. Shared ride percentage, meaning having more than one person in a vehicle at any given time is the goal was 36%. We're currently at 46. So these are wonderful numbers to see, especially on a first year service. We have grown organically. This has been a service that we haven't marketed much. It's been a lot of word of mouth. And we've been kind of maybe hesitant to push it so much as we would have to dramatically increase our service level. So just wanted to share that with you. So this is kind of the month-to-month ridership for the full year. We included both Septembers, seeing that the initial month was kind of a soft start. So we included that in the full year's numbers. So here you can see just how well we've done. And if you can see those gold bars there to the far right, those are with our new software provider. So there were certain limitations that we had with the previous one where we could not grow, we could not move forward to that new service level, and we made that change. And you can see dramatically, even the first month of using the software, it took us to a new record high, and then the following August, September, we've just gone up from there. Right now, we're actually, this is at these last two gold bars, they're at the 500 rides per week level. And now we're at the 650 just after these last 2 weeks. So another increase. So right now, again, this is a demonstration project. We want to see what are your needs for the town. So I don't think we've plateaued just yet. We thought we plateaued at the 1634, and look at us now there. So some other details here relative to customer experience. So with the new software, we can actually rate the service. So that was another big piece that we wanted to incorporate is, hey, how well do the riders like this service? So we did not have an initial goal, but right now we're at 4.9 out of 5 stars. So that's really good. Average wait time for on-demand rides, we're at an average of 19 minutes. Average on-time pickup percentage is 88.3%. And again, these are for the entire year. So we may have started out at a certain level and we're now in the low 90s, but this is kind of the aggregate. Average ride duration in terms of minutes, we're at 13 minutes. Average ride distance is 3.4 miles. Rides booked via the mobile app is 26%. Again, this is the total full year. Right now for mobile app, we're in the mid 30% here in the last probably month or so. So these are your popular origins destinations. So top 3, you're looking at Safeway Plaza, Walmart and Kohl's, and Fry's. Those are your main trip generators. This is data for the last quarter. You're looking at you can kind of see hot spots throughout, but those are your main trip generators. Trip purposes, this is fourth quarter results that I wanted to share with you as they're more relative to what we're doing. 41% employment, 23% shopping, medical 13, recreation 13, other is 8, and education is 2%. So there's definitely a variety of things that we can do with, to increase some of the education, medical, recreation, which we are going to do here this next year. Demographics, your big one is 60% for adults 18 to 59. Our wheelchair rides are 4%. Children is 1. People with disabilities, 14%, and seniors is 15%. So I wanted to provide you with some rider comments here from Jerry, Judy, Paul, and Megan. They are regular riders, and you can see by their comments that kind of how the service is going. Again, more shout out to New Horizons. Maybe if I can have the transit manager up here for a second, maybe she can provide a little bit more detail in terms of the service they provided. Their drivers have been fantastic, excellent customer service, as you can see it from the 4.9 out of 5 stars. But maybe she can bring a little bit more light into some of the operation.
Thank you, Pedro. Wow, I'm really nervous. My name's Bobby. I'm acting transit manager right now for Yavaline. I am just so excited to be a part of such an amazing project. This is a service that this community has needed for a long time, and for me, I always say that this is less about transportation for me and more about connection, hence Yav Connect. We're connecting people to employment, we're connecting people to social services, medical services, and more importantly, we're connecting people to people, and it's these everyday little connections that strengthen a community and help it grow and prosper. And it's just so amazing to be a part of this. And I know all 4 of these people very well. I take a very personal approach with our riders, and I get to hear every day what a godsend this service is. There's been challenges, but we've overcome them. This is, it's a new service. There's unknowns, and I'm just super excited to see what the next year brings. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so last but not least, also the Central Yavapai Metropolitan Planning Organization, they've been fantastic in this process. We work, pretty closely on every transit project, and We've gotten this far with their guidance, especially in terms of the phase transit plan, with our partnership, strengthening that with the town, and the benefits that they provide have been amazing. The dollars that they bring to the town have been amazing, so I appreciate them, and if they have a word, that'd be great.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, Vinny Gallegos, Executive Director of Central Yavapai Metropolitan Planning Organization. Good to be with you all today. Yes, this year SIMPO celebrates 20 years. All 20 years we've been talking multimodal, bicycle, pedestrian, transit, roadways, highways. We need to stop and acknowledge Prescott Valley's leadership. It's all of you, it's staff. This has been something that's been in the talks for this region for 20 years. And this past year, you stepped out on behalf of the region. You offered a demonstration, and the proof's in the numbers. There was a projected number of 9,000. Pedro's showing you double that, 18,000 ridership. We honestly, even though we're in this transportation business and we talk to a lot of people, this is impressive that you're getting people to work, that you're getting the quality of life. So with that said, we acknowledge our relationship. I'm appreciative of Pedro's calling us out in you implementing a SIMPO transit plan. We've been talking with the town manager, Gilbert, and his staff as to the future of this. And we always know it comes down to dollars and cents. How do we balance that out? We recognize what Prescott Valley has on your plate. We recognize the region. It was always the intent that this system would be regional in nature. So again, we acknowledge that you've stepped out on behalf of the region, but what SIMPO is looking to do moving forward is, again, continue the conversations as to how we make this truly a regional system. As you can see on this map that Pedro has, we're in phase 1 in the town of Prescott Valley. Phase 2 is now, and that's to the city of Prescott. And we want to help facilitate that expansion that includes the town of Prescott Valley and now into the city of Prescott. And over these months to come, we want to continue conversations as a SIMPO staff, as a town of Prescott Valley staff, and then the respective mayor, council, and then the SIMPO board to see what does this look like for the region to really step up in this conversation. We think that this is an opportunity for us to continue exercising what is the vision and mission of SIMPO, which is to exercise leadership in the region. So with that said, I'm not going to reveal any major details today because it's an ongoing conversation, but I want us to really come together, and I want SIMPO to exercise leadership, which I'll be visiting with Mayor Palguda and the other board members in months to come as to how we play that role. I do want to highlight one person, and I want to bring them up in a minute, because as part of this conversation, it was critical that we added a new position to SIMPO, and it's to address this exact topic. We added a new position that is called our Regional Development Manager. Fulfilling that position is Michael Lamar. Some of you know him, recognize him. He's probably infamous in his time as the City of Prescott manager for many years. But one of the main roles that I've asked Michael to fulfill is to address this, is to address what does this regional system look like? How do we pay for it? You know, right now the region receives around $1.7 million a year that goes to the City of Prescott and Prescott Valley. We know that that comes with strings attached, and how do we address that? So Michael's goal is an easy one. I said, find us $600,000 a year to pay for the system. We know that the local governments are burdened with a number of issues. So right now, Michael is reaching out to higher education, Embry-Riddle, Yavapai College, reaching out to the hospital, meeting with these people and saying, look, this system is going to provide service to all of the people that Pedro's referenced and more today. So can we come together to address that? Local government should have skin in the game, hopefully will have skin in the game in that, but historically we know that's been easier said than done. So Michael's out there knocking on doors on behalf of the region to develop those partnerships. We were in the town of Chino Valley this morning talking with their city manager, town manager, and their transit system. And again, Yavapai Regional Transit is comparable in numbers. They're offering 18,000 rides also in their town and to the region. So between these two systems, there's over 30,000 rides of all of our citizens that are moving around in our community. So in closing, again, thank you. I want to call Michael up just for a few minutes and he can let you know what he's up to because he really does need your help in knocking on doors to say, you know, who do we have in our community that will partner with us? So again, thank you. We look forward to more regional discussions and we hope that we can continue what Prescott Valley has started, but to really bring this into a more regional context. So here's Michael Lamar.
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Michael Lamar, SIMPO Regional Development Manager, is that what you're calling me, I think? I'm having a little bit of PTSD, just have to excuse me for a moment. I'm very excited to be doing this for the region. I think that all of us would acknowledge that if transit's gonna make it here, it's gonna have to make it regionally. It's not just a PV, intra-PV route. It's gonna be getting people from PV to Prescott, Prescott to PV, Prescott to Chino, the whole area. And what better entity to do that than the Regional Metropolitan Planning Organization, because the responsibility of the MPO is to look at transportation and moving people around. Some of the ideas that Vinny alluded to, I think have a lot of merit. One area that I really want to reach out to is the charter schools. As a charter school parent, I realize that there's not transportation, and is there a way to create special routing for charter schools? So some of the specialized services we've talked about, whether it's the hospitals or the institutes of higher learning, which by the way are all interested in having higher education routing created as a part of this larger system. But it's nice to have a foundation of the 18,000 folks intra-Prescott Valley and the 18,000 folks in Chino Valley. As much as I should have been more familiar with the systems, I had no idea that we were already taking 36,000 people around this region through a transit now. So you're not really not creating something from scratch. You're building off of that foundation and finding partners for specialized services like charter school parents and health care facilities. Well, one of the things that really amazed me too is just for the intra PV route, the fact that you're getting 41% of your people are going to work. That's huge. In a lot of instances, those are people that otherwise wouldn't be able to get to work or have a job. And when you start creating the linkages to these Quad City communities, I think you're going to see the percentage of employment-oriented riders just go up. So I'm excited, and I do appreciate Prescott Valley kind of leading on this. Vinny and I know that long-term sustainability is only going to occur if this becomes a regional program. So. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent, thanks, everybody. So this is kind of a snapshot again of our regional direction. That's our next goal. Phase 2 is Prescott. And for probably the next town council meeting, we'll talk a little bit about more what that's going to look like in terms of expansion. So we'll provide those details to you then. But yes, thank you so much. Do you have, the floor is yours for questions.
Pedro, I have just a quick question. What's the line between Prescott North and Prescott? Is it Willow Lake Road? Is that, what's the?
It's not an exact road.
Okay.
It's more of just a boundary.
Gotcha.
More of I think a land type boundary. It's not really an actual road.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you. Council?
Pedro, when does Pronghorn and maybe the villages, Quailwood and the RV park come in?
So as far as with the phase transit plan, we are not expanding to those areas just yet. So the way that we went after this grant was through the phase transit plan, and these are the 4 phases of the transit plan. We can add to that, we can change that, but we'd have to amend the plan for that to happen. I'm not ruling it out at all, so,
So Prescott would come before the rest of Prescott Valley does?
yes. So right now, phase 1 is just what we're doing now. The boundaries that we're doing now. Phase 2 is, yep, you got it.
I'm very, very, very impressed with this. You're to be congratulated, and thank you, SIMPO team, for everything you've done to assist us. And to our vendor, thank you for all you do. The only spot I see that we could work on, and it's not even a bad thing, is more users using the mobile app. And it's probably because they're too sweet and people want to call and talk to them.
Yeah, they need to be a little bit more mean, so.
But
Yeah.
congratulations. And I just wonder I think our vendor used to do a lot of these rides on their own. And so I just wonder how much they're still doing their own ridership.
That's a good question. So what a lot of these rides are doing, a lot of what New Horizons does is they do more door through door as well, and that cost is a lot higher. I think the demographic that is being served, more medically oriented, more people with disabilities that are obtaining those rides via their insurance provider. We are providing those rides, as you can see, more toward employment, the day-to-day versus those medical trips. But I'm sure that we are, taking some in a way, right, from the other provider. But at the same time, there's so much need. New Horizons is booked 24/7. Bobby, maybe if you want to.
Ma'am, can you just come on up? You'll have to come up for the microphone.
And while she's coming up, I'm so impressed that our highest percentage is for employment. I would have never guessed that. It's very impressive and very needed.
So with New Horizons, they work with medical insurance usually, and there's a limited amount of rides that their insurance will cover. So we're able to supplement that for their customers as well. So say that they've reached their limit, but they still have medical appointments, they still have shopping, hair appointments, they have other things that are a part of life. So we're able to supplement those rides for them at a very affordable rate. I mean, we're talking $1 for people that are living on fixed income, and it is a blessing. And as far as the employment goes, I just get filled with pride to be able to offer these people rides to work without spending half their check. Because I hear stories every day that an Uber or a taxi is going to cost them $20 one way, and then $20 to go home after work. And then you think you're trying to feed your family. You're trying to pay for childcare. For us to be able to step in and help is just an amazing feeling. So, thanks.
Anything else, council?
Thank you, Paige.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Mr.
could,
Dixon.
I just want to take a moment because, I mean, to get to this point and to see these numbers is not by accident. We have been very fortunate as an organization to have a phenomenal leader on our team, and that's Pedro. Without his vision, his tenacity, because he never gives up. Every time I've told him, all right, you need to rethink this and come back, he does, and he always just hits it out of the ballpark. And his technical abilities, we would have never been able to get something like this up and running for our size community. So this is quite a testament to you, and again, to the leadership of the council for supporting a very much needed community service. And I also want to thank and recognize the SIMPO team. We are excited to work with you as we continue to work out all of the details. We have a lot more to do in the months and years ahead, but it's great to be able to work with you and know what we are truly building as a regional program that's going to help to change people's lives and being able to get around, whether it's for work, medical needs, or other activities that they may have. So thank you.
And I'll just finally just add that the late Billy Orr is looking down, smiling, and saying, "I told you so," is what she's doing. So without her tenacity, I don't know if we would even have been at this point. So
Sure.
just pointing that out. Thanks, Pedro.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Next up, item 2B, non-subdivision residential development water policy.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'll go ahead and start on that, and then Gilbert will bring it home.
Thank you, sir.
Back on April 6th, the council held a study session to consider some important water goals for the town of Prescott Valley. And among those goals was to assist the Prescott active management area to achieve its goal of safe yield. And so, as the council approved those goals, staff said we would come back to you with some individual policies to try to implement those goals. One of the policies that you saw recently was a policy to regulate bulk water sales. And today you'll have the opportunity for the second reading to actually implement that policy. Today, we'd like to introduce a policy to you that addresses another significant concern that's part of trying to help achieve the goal of safe yield. And that has to do with an issue that it has increased in concern here in Prescott Valley, but also statewide. And that's where certain residential developments that are technically not subdivisions can be brought into an active management area and can basically come in and use groundwater even though that active management area is in a state of not having safe yield. And that's because of state law that allows those uses to come in without having to have a certificate of assured water supply or a commitment from a designated provider. In those cases, they would have to bring water that is renewable or is imported. In this case, because they don't have to have a CAWS or a commitment from a designated provider, they can continue using groundwater, and that continues the depletion of the aquifer. Now, these types of non-subdivision residential uses are things like apartments, rental recreational vehicle communities, rental manufactured or mobile home communities, and a new concept that has become increasingly popular, and that is communities with leasehold offerings of 1 year or less. Now again, these have become very popular, not only in Prescott Valley, but statewide, partly because they're considered more attainable as housing offerings. But they've got this challenge of not meeting the same water goals that other types of residential communities have to meet. Now, it isn't, again, in just our active management area. The Phoenix, Pinal, Tucson, Santa Cruz, and Douglas AMAs have the same issue. And the legislature has recognized this apparent loophole in the groundwater code and has tried a few times now to amend the code to try to close that loophole. So far, it hasn't been successful because of some of the competing interests. So, under the direction of the town manager, the staff has been putting together this proposed policy for the town of Prescott Valley to try to address this goal that you as a council have adopted of helping this region meet the goal of safe yield by adopting a policy that going forward in 2023, all of these residential uses that are listed as exceptions to the definition of a subdivision must obtain and convey directly to the town a sufficient right to use renewable or imported water supplies in amounts that would have been required to obtain a certificate of assured water supply. Now, we only require the amount to be similar to what a CAWS would require because Prescott Valley is not a designated provider. And so that's the way we look at it here inside our town limits. Now, what we do is we use the same forms and the same procedure as DWR would use in deciding whether to issue a certificate of assured water supply. We recognize in the ordinance that's in front of you that there might be some disagreements about what that amount might be. And we've had some developers say to us, we're okay with this concept, we're just not sure that we agree with your amount. And so we have included a process where we can have dispute resolution where an independent hearing officer can actually be brought in and we can arrive at a conclusion. We propose that every year we'll report to DWR how many of these rights we receive from developers, but we'll be hoping and anticipating that as time goes on, the legislature and other state agencies will be successful in solving this problem statewide so that we can be part of that process. But for now, we're proposing that the council consider adopting this separate policy for the town of Prescott Valley.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I was joking with Ivan earlier this week about this PowerPoint, and he had asked me, he was like, all right, can you run through these PowerPoint slides? And I said, Ivan, they are like there's nothing but words and legalese all the way through that. So I had been working on how to synthesize, but he like knocked it out of the ballpark with just getting to the heart of that. And appreciate working with Ivan on this over the past number of months. Mayor and council, this is a direct result of your leadership in terms of making sure that our town has a sustainable water future. And as you know, with our overall water management plan, this is just one piece of many different things that we are working on. Ivan had indicated that this policy that we're doing it's groundbreaking. There's no other jurisdiction in Arizona within an AMA that has adopted such a similar stance in requiring non-subdivided properties, rental or lease, to have to bring water to the table. So I think this it's a exciting moment, a proud moment for our community that we are trying to address and make sure, again, that anyone that's coming into our community from a development perspective is helping to also solve our water needs. We have been in communication with members of the League of Arizona Cities and Towns. They are aware of what we are doing and in support of this measure. They will take great interest in what is ultimately adopted by the council. We've had other cities that are looking at what we're doing and will most likely be taking our language and modeling it for their own unique situations. We've also had conversations with representatives from the Arizona Rental Association, which is the statewide entity that represents large apartment complexes and other rental type units. And they too have recognized that Arizona, and our community in particular, but Arizona needs to step up and begin to address this loophole. They are not in opposition to this. We have shared the policy with them, and there were some things that we modified with them or clarified with them to make sure that we are on the same page with that. But this is also something that the governor's water advisory group and the legislature are also going to be looking at. We have spoken with our legislative team, legislators, and they too, again, supportive and looking to what is ultimately approved by the council. So I think this is a defining moment, and it doesn't come without risk. There is, because we are trailblazing and this is not enshrined in state law, there's always that risk. But I think this is the right thing to do for our community to make sure that everyone that's coming in and developing is also a part of the water solution. So with that, we'll take any questions, direction that you have on this policy and the document. And then if there's no major changes, you'll see it on our December meeting for the first read, and then it'll come back for the second and final read in January.
Council? Vice Mayor?
So, thank you, Mayor. Gilbert, can you clarify, there's a broad description of exemptions here, land uses of exemptions. Clarify for us that this is just going to be for apartments, or is it for all of those exempted uses?
Vice Mayor, if you'll look at subsection C, it's on the last page of the ordinance. It explains that we're dealing with the following. It's dealing with apartments, leasehold offerings of 1 year or less, pads or similar spaces within apartment buildings, rental recreational vehicle communities, rental manufactured home communities, and rental mobile home parks.
Perfect, thank you for clarifying that. So not commercial, not industrial, okay, cool. So my concern here then, or my only comment is, what about attainable housing? If somebody comes in with 100%, let's say 100% affordability, you know, at 60, 50, or 40%. What about that?
So we, Mayor, Vice Mayor, that is not an exemption in this list. That is something we can evolve. So as we are, as you know, and the council knows, we're working on a number of housing, attainable housing strategies and policies. So both through our land use code and then separate policies that we'll be developing. This could be in the mix of things that we could offer as a, not necessarily an incentive, but to help offset some of the costs. Because the water that, you know, if they have to go out and buy water to be able to prove up their cause, our local cause, it's not cheap water. This is very expensive water for a developer to come in with. So we will want to look at that and have the right language to make sure that we address the attainable housing piece.
And I know we don't have a 100% project in the wings yet, but I support this the way it's written, just so long as we can keep that in our memory bank of something to look at in the future as far as an amendment. And I'm not concerned at all. I am a little bit about the liability that we have approving this, you know, and being sued by somebody. I'm happy to hear that the residential apartment complex people are supporting this. That's a really good sign, and thank you for your work on that. So I'm really supportive of this, and I appreciate all of your hard work and all of staff's hard work on this project. Thank you.
And Mayor, and to the Vice Mayor's last comment there, I would be remiss, you know, Ivan and I, we spent a lot of time, but it truly, is an amazing team effort. Literally, we meet every single week religiously for several hours just talking about water. And this is always one of the items that we're talking about. But it's, you know, with Neil Wadsworth, Tracy Lund, Ryan Judy, Hunter Moore, Heather Roberts, Skylar Barton, Heidi Foster. I mean, it's a whole team effort that is really working to address and make sure that our full water portfolio is put in place.
So new developers that come in, that say they don't know anything about this, they will be given this information at IPR, is that? when they
That's
would see it?
correct. That's correct. And we have been introducing that. So some of the developments that have already come in have been told that we were working on this and that was a requirement. And so you have seen in some of the conditions that exact language. So this just solidifies that.
Thank you.
What if they object? What if there's objection to this, the developers, what do we have to fall back on?
One of the main things that we have is that you have some legislative authority generally involved with rezonings where you can add as a condition this type of requirement. And so I think we're going to be on fairly solid grounds as long as there's a rezoning involved. The challenge will come where there isn't one. And we'll have other arguments to make about our inherent authority as a municipality to bring this forward, especially given the significant state policy interests that are involved. As a lawyer, I can't tell you that we would prevail, but we'd sure make some good arguments, and I think a judge would agree with them. I would hope so.
So they either want to be here or they don't.
There you go.
Council, anything else for staff? Anything, Mr. Davidson?
No, that's just that if no other changes, then we'll finalize it and bring it back for the first read at the December meeting.
Thank you, sir. With that being said, we'll adjourn for now. Be back at 5:30.